Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are fine and doing well. So we have discussed different issues regarding international business. I think we have discussed tariffs, different types of tariffs on theoretical basis. So today I wanted to discuss the real trade war between USA and China, so you can practically see what's happening, how tariffs works, why companies are imposing tariffs, why governments are imposing tariffs, who will suffer because of these tariffs, why the governments are imposing tariff on other countries, on certain industries, on certain products. So as we have all discussed, the tariffs are tax which are like imposed on import goods. It can be imposed on volumes, it can be imposed on units, it can be imposed on total value of the product, it can be imposed on quantity basis as well. It can limit that. So we have discussed that countries are imposing tariff on imports so they can support their local domestic companies, domestic market, and they don't want to depend on single country. So that's why it's normal. Sometimes countries are having free trade, like Europe. They're not having any types of tariffs. They think that there's free trade is in favor of both parties, like for all countries. So if we are having a free trade, so the government policy depend on different countries, on different region, on different timing. So it depend on government policies that how they want to have a trade with certain countries. Do they want to have free trade? They don't want to have free trade. They want to have some tariffs, low tariffs, high tax, or they want to increase tariffs. So it depends on different countries and different government policies. So as we have discussed, export and import, that most of the governments, they are trying to have more export than imports, at least, if not at least 50, have balance between import and export. So if your import is higher than the export, then it means you will be having a deficit in your import and export, because you are importing more than you are exporting certain type of product. For example, if you are importing $200 million worth of goods from Pakistan and you are exporting again 50 million, so there is 150 million deficit. So it's not in the favor of your country, like it's money is dumping into their economy. So today we will discuss what's happening between China and USA in recent days. As might you have followed business news in recent months, that Trump US government are imposing tariffs on 3-round tariff on Chinese goods, Chinese imports. In the China again, they have imposed tariff on American companies. So this trade war has been going on from last 6-7 months or almost a year. So both countries have imposed tariff on each other on different types of industries. They have imposed these tariffs. So let's see what's happening between these. So why Trump is targeting China with tariffs? So as we all know that China, as we have seen videos, or we know that China in last 30 years have developed a lot. Their progress, their GDP, economy, export and import, now they are the second largest economy in the world. And according to the latest survey which was conducted by a firm in United Kingdom, they have forecasted that China will be first economy in 2028. From a Chinese perspective, they were planning to be the number one economy in the world by 2000, I think 33 or 35. But now a company, a firm in United Kingdom has forecasted that China will be the number one economy in the world by 2028, like almost 8 years or 7 years after 8 years. The reason is because of COVID-19, that Chinese has managed to control COVID-19 in China, and they have controlled it in many firms. In this COVID-19 coronavirus have affected Europe and USA a lot. They couldn't control it. They have their GDP growth rate is very, very low. I think Chinese growth rate was 5.5 or 5.7%, and the US was 2.1% or something. So China has controlled their economy, has controlled their coronavirus cases, and the USA and European Union, they couldn't control it, so their economy has been affected. So because of this reason, it has given a chance to China to what we call it, to growth, to increase their growth rate of GDP. Because of this, China can easily take over USA in the global market and become the #1 economy in the world. So that's why China is trying a lot, and they're working hard for this in their planning, in doing strategic planning in order to achieve this. And nowadays we all know the Chinese government are offering more scholarship for Asian countries, developing countries, so they can support them mentally, and they can support them financially and different, so they can do at least something for the region. And also we have discussed that China and US are in war in what we call in Africa. So in Africa we all know that they're facing each other, and Chinese are investing a lot of money in African economy. They're investing a lot in agriculture and roads and railway networks, and they're also trying to promote their Chinese language in Africa. They have opened around 35 institutes to teach Chinese language for Africans. So and also they have invested a lot in Sri Lanka, in Pakistan, in these countries. They are trying to develop Silk Road. So it's all because of the Chinese are trying to overcome USA and become the first in the global world. As there are many economists has discussed that the labor wage in China is very, very low compared to other countries. It was around $2 or $3 per hour, while it is almost over $10-15 minimum wage in USA. In other countries, in Canada I think it's 25 Canadian dollars. So in London it's around 10 pound. So that's why it made it easier for Chinese to attract more foreign direct investment and to produce more product for our global economy. So now we all know that whatever we are using is made of China. Whatever, if it's phone, if it's if it's shoes, if it's clothing, if it's toys, many things. So most of them are imported from China. So that's why there is a war between USA and the Chinese government. So why I'm trying to bring a real example, so you can at least understand tariff on real basis. Theory, as I've said on my first class, theory is very easy. You can just go in Google and find from books what is tariff. But the most important thing is that you should know tariffs, export and import, all these things on a real basis. What's happening in the global economy, what's happening between China on a real world, not on just theoretical basis. So that's why I have research on this topic, so you can understand tariff on a real basis. So let's see why is Trump targeting China with tariffs. Donald Trump believes Beijing is using unfair trade practices to gain an advantage on the US, which he says include the theft and abuse of intellectual property rights of US firms such as Hollywood films or IT systems. So I'm sure you have studied intellectual property, or you will study intellectual property in your entrepreneurship subject. So that's why Donald Trump thinks that the Chinese are stealing their property rights, intellectual property. They are copying certain designs, certain patents, certain discoveries, certain design in certain names, so they are making it fake in by other names. So that's allegation by China, which has already Chinese companies or government has many times refused this allegation that they are not involved in such cases. So Donald Trump, he has also accused China of subsidizing steel export in a practice amounting to dumping, selling a product at an artificially low price. There is one policy, call it dumping policy. Dumping policy is when a company or a country want to sell their product in a very lower price in another country. For example, Chinese steel, they have tried to they are using dumping policy so they can take over the market and defeat their competitors. When Chinese steel enters into the United Kingdom, they have had a very low price, same quality of product with Tata Steel, which is the biggest steel company in United Kingdom. They couldn't compete with Chinese firm because Chinese firm were producing good quality of product at lower price. So why government can't take action? Because in some countries there is free trade. You cannot impose, because these countries, these company have a liar. If you are going against any policies, any free trade policy or market, they can sue the government or they can sue against the policy that we are practice, because it's a free market. Anyone can come and sell in whatever price they are willing to sell. It doesn't matter what their competitors are doing. So that's why some Chinese firms have already used dumping policy. They enter into a country and they bring down their prices very low compared to their competitors. So customers are moving from competitors to the Chinese companies, because they think, okay, if the same quality of product I am buying from a company, it cost me, for example, $1,000, but if I buy the same quality product from Chinese company, will cost me $700, so I can save $300 or $200 or $50 in a ton. So it's a big amount when you're constructing a big project. So that's why they have moved, they will be shifting from national product to a Chinese. So that's why Donald Trump has accused China that they are using dumping policy in certain industries in certain countries in order to take over their competitors and take over the market, and at least find a position for themselves in the same market. So that's another allegation which was done by Donald Trump, so which he argues has hurted jobs in the US. So he also takes issues with the size of the US trade deficit or the imbalance between export and imports from China. So that's why they think that they are using this policy in this issue in other countries. So that's what the Chinese are doing. Now let's see. I think the US firms, how big is US trade with China? Chinese are exporting a lot of product to the US and importing less. So from a United States perspective, Americans are exporting a lot amount of product from China, importing a lot of products from China and exporting less. For example, I think there is a graph. Americans are importing also the USA export to China is $129.9 billion, while their import from China is $505.5 billion. So it's not a small amount. So you can see that there is a very big difference, almost $375.6 billion deficit between these two countries. So imagine that the United Kingdom, American companies are importing a lot of product from China. It's almost 2-3% more compared to their total exports. So total export for of USA to China is $129.9 billion, and their import is $505.5 billion. So imagine there is $375.6 billion the difference between these countries. So that's why Donald Trump is thinking that we are still dependent on Chinese companies or Chinese firms. So our export is lower than our imports to Americans, to Chinese. So this much amount is entering into Chinese economy by US firms or US companies or US consumers or customers. So that's why they're doing. And also export to China support about 1 million American jobs. So if this export, because of this export that they are doing to to China's, 1 million Americans are working there. So if the export of Americans get decrease, then what will happen? Many people will lose their job. Many people cannot afford them, because if they lose the export, then it's hard for them to compete. So that's why, let's say, according to official figure, the US racked up a trade in goods deficit, okay, let me go there, of 375.6 billion, which is this much, 283.1 billion pound, with China last year, meaning America bought far more from the world's second largest economy than it has managed to sell to it. So American has bought a lot of products from second largest economy, and they couldn't manage to sell same like they have bought from it. So US export of goods total 129.9 billion last year, while imports from China were $505.5 billion. Export to China supports about 1 million American jobs, according to the US-China Business Council, while aircraft and soybeans are the most valuable items sold to China. Mobile phones, computers, toys, and games are the biggest importer to the US from China. So American companies are sending the largest export to Chinese are aircraft and soybeans, and the most valuable items sold to China. While mobile phone, computer, toys, and games are the biggest import, they are having other imports as well, other products as well, but these are the biggest that they are importing from China. Americans are importing from China. So imagine they are importing a lot of product. Why they are importing from there? Because of lower quality, high quality and lower price. Chinese government, Chinese economists, they have used their population for developing their country. So what goods are affected? So what are the different sectors that has been affected by these tariffs? Let me bring this here. Yes, so the White House is imposing tariffs on Chinese goods, including boats, aircraft engines, nuclear reactors, and other industrial and agriculture machineries, as a part of wide-ranging list of 818 types of product. So the White House have imposed tariff on 818 types of product, Chinese product. So the US has imposed tariff worth $34 billion on China so far, although it will introduce a second round covering 284 more products at a later date, taking the total to $50 billion. So Chinese firms are imposing tariffs on US company, White House, United States are imposing almost $50 billion amount of tariffs on Chinese companies. So at least they can help their domestic products. So at least they can support their their national product or domestic product. So that's why they have imposed a lot amount of money. So 50 billion is not a less amount that has been imposed by US market on Chinese goods, on Chinese companies. So it's not first, that's second round, third round. They have had many rounds in order to put pressure on Chinese government, on Chinese companies, and also imposing these tariffs on Chinese companies will increase the price in domestic market in USA as well, because the businessman, they will increase their price as well, because their cost will increase. Before, for example, they used to pay $2 tariff, now they are, for example, paying $4. So definitely the price will go up. So the consumers or customers in US market will suffer, because they will pay higher price compared to previous years, or compared to before tariffs. So after tariff, for example, before tariff the product of certain goods were, for example, $1. After tariff it might be $1.5 or $2. The price might get increased. So that's why it will affect the companies customers in USA and China as well. So it's not only US that are imposing tariffs on Chinese. Beijing is targeting the same value of goods. They have shown their reaction, and they have imposed tariff on Americans goods as well, although has so that's why it's not only US that are imposing tariffs on China. Chinese have shown the reaction again, and they have imposed tariff on American goods as well. So Beijing is targeting the same value of goods, although has taken a different approaches to slap tariffs on fewer American goods across broader categories. Its list includes soybeans, which will hit agriculture communities usually loyal to the president, as well as other goods such as cotton, corn, tobacco, and cars. So Chinese government, Beijing, has imposed tariff on soybeans agriculture sector because agriculture sector people are more loyal to the US President Donald Trump. They are supporter of them, so that's why they have imposed tariff on agriculture goods, so they can be affected as well. So which will hit agriculture communities usually loyal to the president, as well as other goods such as cotton. They have put tariff on cotton, corn, tobacco, and cars as well. So it's two-way war between these countries that they are involved or indulge in this. So how will it affect the other economies? So what is the consequences of imposing tariff on each other? So who will suffer? There are many point of views. There are many people saying different words. So it's their own analysis, what they think of. So I think Mark Carney, the governor of the Bank of England, warned this week that further escalation of Trump trade dispute would hurt the American economy most, with potential to lower US economic growth by 5%. So Mark Carney, he says that he's the governor of Bank of England. He warns that because of imposing this tariff, or because of this policy, the US economy will be affected. So US economy will be affected, and they will suffer a lot percent, so their growth will suffer. So that's why he warned that if they're having a free trade and they don't have this issue, it will be better for both countries. So publishing forecast by the UK Central Bank, Carney warned that the American economy would suffer a 2.5% drop in GDP as a result of falling trade volumes alone over 3 years, should the White House increase US import tariff by about 10% points on all of its trading partners. If he warned, if the US impose tariffs on their partners in other, so it will affect their economy. So that's all about Chinese goods and who will be affected by these tariffs, which country or which parts will be affected. So which countries, I was planning to do research which countries have the highest, which countries has the highest tariffs. So I was planning to do research on which countries have the highest tariffs. So it took a lot, so it depends on months, 6 months, 4 months, year, and which country has the lowest tariff. So that's why I left it, because it's a very big research. If you want, you can do it, because it depends on different types of countries. I think mostly it's American countries around North America, they're having highest around 30% tariffs, and the lowest is around 0 with free trade, that they don't have any sort of tariff between each other. They're having a free market, so it's controlled by free market. There is no tariff or no restriction on imports and exports of products between countries. So it depends on the different governmental policies, what they are doing, why they are using tariff, is it important to use tariff or it's not important. So it depends on different aspects of the government, so it's not only for the people. So it depends on government why they are imposing tariff. They want to have free trade or not, which one is in the favor of the government, which one is the favor of the country, which one is in the favor of customers. So it depends on certain certain countries, why they are imposing these types of tariffs. So as we have discussed that now Chinese are trying to build a Silk Road, which we have discussed in the class. They are trying to overcome USA, and they are trying to build road initiatives, railway networks, airports, air corridors, the different ports, like they have built ports in Sri Lanka, Gwadar port in Pakistan, in different part of the globe. They are trying to overcome these countries. So there are many research that they are accusing China that their Chinese government are using financial trap to get these countries which are corrupted with different problems. They are having security problems. Chinese government are giving them a lot of what we call it loan, big amount of loan, so these countries can be affected by financial trap because they cannot pay the loan back. As recently we have saw that Saudi Arabia has asked Pakistan to give their, I think, $1 or $2 trillion back the loan. So Pakistan has taken this loan from China again. So that's why Chinese are trying to support governments and trying to put them in to try to has upper hand on them. For example, they are giving them more loan, they are building roads, they are building constructions, ports, railway networks, different things, so they can have take this country as a financial trap. When these countries cannot pay their loan, even their interest rate, so day by day it will increase, so they can economically become the slave of certain countries. So that's a different big research that has been conducted by the governments, and thus the different issues that the governments are doing this, that they are investing in many construction firms. So we have discussed. So let me summarize what we have discussed today. We have started from affects China, why Trump is targeting tariffs, so how big is US trade economy, who is affected. So why, as I have said on the first minutes of video, why I have brought this discussion or this notes. I have research regarding this, so you can again I say you can learn this practically, what is happening in the global world. But if you want to increase your general knowledge regarding international business, as I have said, international business is one of the most important subject in your whole BBA syllabus. So it's very, very important. If you are not aware what's happening around and what's happening around the globe, international business is a type of subject that you need to update yourself on day-to-day basis or even hourly basis. What's happening, what was happening in the morning in the world, what's happening in the evening. So if you don't follow business news in 6 months or 1 month or 1 week or 2 weeks, so you're losing a lot of important informations. So if you are interested in business news, if you need to be interested in this, if you need to search what's happening in global market for your general knowledge. So as a business student, you should know what's happening around. So it's very important, especially for your international business. So for international business, it's very, very important to follow business news on daily basis and see what's happening in the country, what's happening around the country, what's happening in Asia, what's happening in Europe, what's happening in America, what's happening, what they are doing, why they are doing. So you will see different discussion. This discussion is from The Guardian. You can find BBC, Financial Times. Different newspapers are targeting or discussing different issues regarding big brands, regarding COVID-19 affected the business, and there are many, many other reasons that they are discussing in a business news. So it's, as I said, it's very important for you. If you want to learn, if you want to increase your general knowledge, it's very important to go in at least on day-to-day basis, give 5 minutes to business news and do research what's happening around the globe. So that's all about your tariffs, US and China war. So inshallah next class we will discuss another topic.